there are things in life that we're going to have to do regardless of how we feel or regardless of what we think about them. And I think that responsibility is something that is growing in me, and ultra running and these races is putting that mirror right in my face and saying, if you do it here and it's working here, then why wouldn't it work in all these other areas? Because your actions matter at the end of the day. How you show up is so important, but what you do with the energy you have, regardless of the energy you have, is ultimately going to define who you are at the end of the day.
We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what create space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
Hey everyone, Brooke here. One of my biggest goals for 2025 is to improve my energy, and I know I'm not alone in that. I also know I'm not alone in what I'm about to say next. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I look forward to is my morning cup of coffee. What I don't look forward to is how much I rely on it to get me through the day and the stomach upset and crashes that come with it. I know it's hard on my hormones, energy, and stress levels, but man, is it a hard habit to break. Can anyone else relate? I want quick and easy, and I want energy. Saying goodbye completely to caffeine is out of the question for me, but trying it in a new way, that I'm open to. So let me tell you about my new obsession, Everyday Dose. Would you believe me if I told you my new morning cup of energy includes the following, and all in one simple scoop? We've got L-theanine, an amino acid that works to increase focus, balance insulin levels, metabolism, and lower stress and cortisol. We've got low acidity coffee extract, finally coffee that doesn't give me a stomach ache. Collagen protein to improve my gut health, skin, and nails. Chaga, a type of mushroom that supports immune system. And my favorite, Lion's Mane, a natural nootropic that helps reduce brain fog and boost my mood. In addition to it being the easiest and most effective morning routine, it's free of artificial sweeteners, additives, mycotoxins, and mold. I feel at ease knowing what's going in my body, all while feeling energized, calm, and focused all day. Check out their coffee starter kit. It comes with free gifts every month like a frother, gunmetal spoon, breathwork app, and more. Join Andrew and myself as we start our year and all 365 days with Everyday Dose. Visit everydaydose.com/goldivy and get your coffee starter kit delivered straight to your door. Use our code GOLDIVY to get up to 30% off your first order.
Who wants to know what I discovered that's an absolute game changer with my hormones, stress level, and quality of my sleep? I am not one to talk about supplements, but after learning all about magnesium, I have to fill you in. In May of last year, I tested my hormones and my doctor explained to me that most women are deficient in magnesium, how important magnesium is, and how the brand of magnesium matters. First, magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in your body. Cortisol regulation, take magnesium. Better sleep, magnesium. Muscle soreness and recovery, magnesium. Combat depression and anxiety, magnesium. The list of magnesium's benefits go well beyond those examples. I asked for the best brand of magnesium and my doctor said hands down, Smidge. She prefers Smidge because it's super clean and made in small batches. No fillers or common allergens, and non-GMO. Smidge's magnesium is made with a premium form of magnesium called glycinate complex. After taking the 100 milligram capsule of Smidge Evening Magnesium every night for just a week, I noticed how much better I felt in the morning. Melatonin and other sleep aids can make me groggy or give me weird dreams. Smidge's magnesium has improved my energy levels, reduced my anxiety, and my digestive health has never been better. I do my best to take it every single night to keep reaping all the benefits. I'm telling you, Smidge Magnesium is a game changer. The majority of adult women are deficient in magnesium, and we don't want you to be one of them. To experience the health benefits of Smidge Evening Magnesium as soon as possible, go to getsmidge.com or find the link in the show notes and be sure to use code GOLDIVY10 for a 10% discount. That's getsmidge.com and code GOLDIVY10 at checkout and let us know how great Smidge Magnesium makes you feel as well. And now to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today is so exciting because we have a runner in the house, and I am just fangirling right now. Mark Dowdle, welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited to have a conversation with you two.
We have a lot to talk about.
This man is Forrest Gump. I'm just saying. I think maybe a little faster, a little better, but we're going to dive into it today. And at some point in this conversation, I might just see my way out because these two are going to completely geek about running. And so even if you're not a runner, you're going to get some serious inspiration, some serious motivation from this conversation. I'm excited. Let's dive in.
Yeah, and it's not about running, right? We want to hear about how your brain works, how your mind works when you're pushing yourself to these physical limits that we think we have, and then you crush them. There's so much to dive into. But just to introduce yourself a little bit, Mark, about what you've done. I mean, you've got the calendar club that you post about, and you've gone viral for a variety of things that people follow you for. So if people aren't quite familiar with what you do and what your passion is, can you please tell them a bit about yourself?
Yeah, let me try and summarize that in a clear pitch here. I think I am the type of person that likes to confront the person that I actually am. And what I mean by that is I have a set of beliefs about who I am. I have a set of beliefs about what I think I can accomplish. And through running, I have the opportunity to determine if that is reality or if that is my ego inflating itself to think that I'm better than I am. And running is the vessel in which I do that through. So running is this form of self-discovery. It's a form of confronting my ideas in reality and then going out and testing them and seeing if they're actually true. I do that in a number of different ways. I do last person standing races where you run 4 miles every hour on the hour until there's one person left. Calendar Club, which you had alluded to, where back in 2023, I did a full year of the Calendar Club Challenge. And the Calendar Club Challenge is running the number of miles equal to the day of the month every month for a year. So on the 1st of May, you run 1 mile. On the 2nd, 2 miles, all the way up until the 31st, where you run 31 miles. And then I reset back at 1 for the next month and did that for a full year.
Important piece to this, Mark, though, is that you live in Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay, because if you were in Texas, Florida, this would be like, okay, that's still hard. But like, we've had some brutal, cold, snowy, icy days. So keep going, but I just wanted to make sure people know where you live.
Yes. Love winter running, which brings up, I get people together in the wintertime in Minnesota and host a run group with Embrace North called Run and Plunge, where we run 4 miles to the Mississippi River. We jump in for 2 minutes, and then we run 2 miles back to the saunas at Embrace North. And my whole goal with doing all of these things is in hopes that it inspires the person watching, listening, reading to take on those challenges in their own life, whether that's running or whether that's another endeavor that they go on, is that they can see me putting these ideas out, facing the fears that I have, failing or succeeding, and know that you don't have to be afraid to go out and put yourself out there, but you can take on that challenge in your own life.
Yeah, there's something about the physicality that does something to your mental health, right? And sometimes it's hard for people to feel that connection because they don't ever allow themselves the opportunity to see what they're capable of. And that's what Brooke and I do as coaches a lot. It's really like people underestimate themselves. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that aren't super physical wonder, like, why though? Like, what at certain point, like past a marathon, what is the point? Or like, why are you doing this? And so let's talk about like one of those last man standing competitions, right? So I'm thinking about this, and you've been doing 4 miles an hour. Let's just say at this point, it's been a full 24 hours. So, because you go well past that, but it's a full day. There's how many people would you say would be left at that point when it's been a full day?
So these races have sprouted up all over the country. It depends on the race you're at. The race that I've been going back to in Wausau, Wisconsin, at 24 hours, I think we had 12 people last year. And this year, I think we had around 12 to 15 people
Okay.
out of the 70 or 75 that started the race.
And is it like I'm so competitive and I want to win at that point, or like I need to like see, okay, which one of these guys is going to fall out? Like, is it a mind game when it comes to the competition, or is it mostly just like you against yourself, or you trying to see what you're made of?
Yeah, that's a great question because I've done 5 last person standing races, 4 at this race specifically. In the first 2 years that I went into it, I didn't make the 24-hour mark. And a lot of that I attribute to the fact that I was thinking so much about the competition. I was thinking so much about how can I beat this person, or honestly like comparing myself of how I felt and how I thought they looked. So if they looked really strong and I felt really crappy, then I determined that I couldn't beat them and my mental would just continue to spiral in the wrong direction. Last year, I went into the race thinking about how I have one goal, and it is just don't quit. So no matter what happens, don't think about the other competitors are out there. Just think about this one goal, because this one goal, if you accomplish it, will mitigate all the other factors that come into play. So when it gets down, this year was a little bit different. It was me and one other runner for about 8 hours. And there were some competitive mind games going on. I think when it gets down to like 10 people or past the 24-hour mark, you're always, communicating at the start line or that first half a mile up the hill of like just having conversations with people. Because in that conversation, a lot can be said without any specific words being said. So like, if their tone of voice is tired or their tone of voice is depressed or sad in that moment, that they're dealing with something, and it's just something to keep in the back of the mind. Or if they're walking funny on their right leg and they've been doing that for the last 3 loops, they're dealing with something in that right leg. So you try and pick up on some things, and you can go on the attack with some things as well. Like one thing that I did was when me and this runner were kind of getting down to the wire. I was starting to see him crack a little bit. There's a 3-minute, a 2-minute, and a 1-minute warning of that next hour coming up. And every loop leading up to 35 hours, the race lasted 38 hours, I would wait until 30 seconds to get to that starting line. Because you don't need to be standing there unless, you take as much time to rest as you need. But at 2 minutes on loop 35 and loop 36, I decided to stand at that starting line and just let him see that I didn't need the rest. He was sitting right in front of that starting line, and I wanted him to know that I didn't need the rest. I was ready to go at 2 minutes. And so there's mind games like that of like, you can take information in and then try and use that information to assert dominance or assert strength, to try and get in their head a little bit more.
So it kind of sounds like it's both. It's a competition against other people, maybe more so yourself, but depending on the race, the situation, it kind of goes back and forth. I have ran 1 marathon. I'm going to give myself credit here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I realize how much of a mind game it is. So I want to know for you, when you're doing these races, you're 100-miler, what have you, like, what are you saying to yourself? What is going on in your head that is keeping you going?
Yeah, it is a constant conversation of me trying to figure out who I really am. Like, I'll tell you this, that there were a few different podcasts that are friends of mine that we had reached out, we had gotten connected, and I was going to go on their podcast after this race. And the whole time during this race, I kept thinking to myself in like the worst moments when I wanted to, think about quitting. I was like, how am I going to be able to talk about this next week if I quit right now? Why am I deserving to even have a conversation with someone about dealing with adversity if in this moment I can't deal with it myself? So there's a lot of like trying to determine if these beliefs I had about myself were real or if they were just fabrications that I was making in my mind about, oh, I'm this tough guy that I can handle adversity, but really out here this sucks and I want to quit, and feeling sorry for myself. So that like many loops of that, of experiencing doubt. Um, and then, on the back end of things, when I had gone from through hours of experiencing doubt and communicating with it and putting up, I experienced doubt, but like, my actions right now are telling me that's not true because I'm still out here. So going back and forth on that. And then this line of, what story do you want to create? And I got that from Cam Hanes when he sent a message to Max Joliffe in his Moab 240 race of like, you're in the moment when it's most painful. And in this moment, everything hurts. Your mind wants you to quit. Your body wants you to quit, but you're still in the moment, which means you still have control over the narrative. You still have control over the story. And so what do you want to do with that? Because tomorrow, when you look back, you might have regrets and you won't have the opportunity to control the story, to write the ending that you want to write. So are you willing to stick in this moment a little bit longer where you have control and just continue moving forward? And so that also just on repeat in my mind of like, this sucks, but I'm still in this moment. And that means I still have control over how I want this to end. And just really holding on to that and repeating that in my mind.
Yeah. And there's so many parallels to those that aren't runners. Thinking of hard times in your life where you're going through some type of grief or hardship or something like that, where, you have a choice on how you want to show up. You could stay depressed in your bed and just hide from the world, but like getting out of bed even sometimes is like the hardest thing in the world. And it's like, you have control over this moment, and how do you want to show up in the world? And I just see it as like, doing these hard things physically, it always waterfalls into your day to day. Like when you show yourself you can do something super hard, and for you, it might be like a 5K that feels really hard, and you show up and you crush it. And then you just start to notice how like easy everything else is. There's just something about it. So have you seen any parallels in your life, like how you show up in the world, in your day to day or in relationships or anything like that, from your experiences with running?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get very introspective. I write a lot, and I can maybe I'm not like emotional, but I can feel things and reflect on them and stew in them. And not that I think feeling your feelings or listening to your emotions is a bad thing, but I think we have gone over the top in listening to how we feel and how we take action on those things. Ultra running, and specifically the last person standing races, has taught me that my emotional state varies so drastically. My thoughts vary so drastically. I can go from thinking that I can accomplish anything to thinking that I don't deserve to be a runner at all in 1 hour of time, in one loop. And so for things that can vary so drastically, the one thing I was holding on to is my action. If I'm consistent in my action, then the feelings don't matter to what I'm trying to accomplish. The thoughts I have don't matter to what I'm trying to accomplish. And that shows up in my day-to-day life when, I'm doing my job, or I am trying to settle a dispute between me and somebody I care about. Or just show love to my fiance. There are ways, or my family for that matter. Like there are things in life that we're going to have to do regardless of how we feel or regardless of what we think about them. And I think that responsibility is something that is growing in me, and ultra running and these races is putting that mirror right in my face and saying, if you do it here and it's working here, then why wouldn't it work in all these other areas? Because your actions matter at the end of the day. How you show up is so important, but what you do with the energy you have, regardless of the energy you have, is ultimately going to define. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great point. I mean, you bring up energy, and I want to dive into that. how are you fueling yourself? Because I'm thinking, have you in the past also taken it too far, where I think it's a fine line of pushing yourself, but also like, is this healthy? What's your dance been like with that?
Yeah. Um, I It's a good question because I think we're always trying to find that. What is too extreme?
We're laughing because we
there.
just aired an episode on this week, and we were very extreme people. Maybe not as extreme as you, but we like to talk about this dance.
Yeah, it is. And I think I did see a clip of you two talking about, like I think you talked about how you don't have to eat a salad every day, but committing to this idea that you have of yourself. I think I resonated with that because it's like, not every day you show up in the weight room or you show up for your run is going to be 100 out of 100, but you committed to this idea that you're the type of person that shows up regardless. So even if you had like a 10-mile run planned on the schedule, um, going out for a 2-mile run is better than not showing up at all. It's committing to this idea of you will show up no matter what, even if it's not as much as you wanted to. So when I think about, I mean, there's a few different ways to answer this. Like extreme, I don't think I've reached that line yet. I think I've backed out before it got to that point, and I think I have a good sense of where my limits are. And maybe that's a protection of myself. Maybe I'm not even getting close to that line, but I'm trying to protect myself from that. I haven't reached that point. As far as fueling goes, in these last person standing races, I am blessed to have a partner and a fiance who loves being there, loves cooking food for me each and every loop, and supporting in the ways that she loves to. And I've said this before, like, if she wasn't there, like I will refuse to go to a last person standing race if she's not there. Not just because she helps fuel me and keep me on track, but when I get back from a loop and I see her there and she is working as hard as I am, we are both working on this goal together. So it's a team victory at the end of the day. And when I don't have that voice in my head to keep going, when I can't find that voice in my own mind, she will instill that in me and remind me why we're there, remind me what we're doing, and gives me that breath of life to keep going forward.
That's awesome. What is she cooking?
So we make pancakes and spaghetti the night before, and then she'll reheat some of that. She'll make egg and bean and spinach and hash pound burritos, spaghetti and meatballs, salmon sandwiches, soup, grilled cheese, pancakes with peanut butter.
You're eating like a
A
king.
whole course, yeah.
And what's the farthest you've ever ran consecutively? Like without the last man's, not the last man stand, like a race, like a trail race or like a road race.
Depends what you mean by consecutively. So 158 was this most recent last person standing. That's probably the longest I've gone without any break at all. There was a run that we did back in 2022 for Love Like Glory Legacy, a nonprofit we started for pancreatic cancer, where I ran from the Springfield capital in Illinois back to St. Paul capital here, which was 500 miles in 9 days. Now there were breaks obviously at night when we went to sleep, but that, if you consider that, otherwise no breaks, 158.
Wow. So you really are Forrest Gump. Okay. And for hydration, what are you doing for hydration?
Water, and I will take like spoonfuls of Himalayan salt,
Okay.
and add that to that. So water and maybe some Gatorade, but
Okay.
I stick to water and salt pretty much.
So interesting.
What has been the biggest gift that running has given you?
I think perspective on growth. Like I really like this idea of like I said, I'm introspective and I like this idea of growing, but emotional or character growth is really hard for me to conceptualize if it's not placed on top of a physical thing. And so in running, when it's getting hard, or maybe even just a daily run, I really like this idea of thinking through life or thinking through problems while also having this physical thing of moving forward. So it's like I'm moving forward through my thoughts at the same time as I'm moving forward with my feet and working through problems that way. And so I think just having this like this physical thing to put on top of the mental, emotional, spiritual growth that I'm also going through.
I feel that so deeply. There's like neuroscience behind that. We talked about that too with a psychologist before. But I want to get into the spiritual, like, because I know I feel the closest connection to God when I'm running, and it's hard to put in words. And I'm curious if you're able to do this, because spirituality is it's just tricky to put in words, something you feel so deeply, that connection, that's something that's beyond you. And have you had any moments when it's like in a race or, meeting this goal of the calendar year, running every day, that you felt like super close to God, or had any moments like that, or any spiritual awakenings in the process of meeting these goals?
Ironically enough, so yes, but not in like a big moment. I grew up, when we speak about spirituality or faith, or I grew up Catholic church, Jesuit high school, Catholic university, never had a relationship with God though. And it wasn't until like 2 years ago, I was out on a normal run listening to a podcast between Cam Haines and Sally McRae. And she's an ultra runner, absolute beast, role model. But she was talking about how when she does these 200-mile races and she feels weak, she finds strength in knowing that she's made in the image of God, and that strength lives within her and that she can tap into that. And when I heard that, I was going through a lot of searching in my life, and just hearing somebody that I respected and looked up to talk about God in that way opened the door for me to want to explore that. I kid you not, 10 minutes later, I'm running by Lake Nokomis, and my friend's Vince Lapusa, Fresh Steeps Vince.
Oh my gosh, we had coffee with him.
Did you really?
Yes, we love Vince.
Oh, God.
Shout out to Vince. What up? Fresh Steeps is great.
Fresh Steeps is great. But Vince was reading the Bible at Lake Nokomis, which he hadn't done. He had just started picking that up. And the verse that he was reading was something of the sorts of, you do not know God because you are not of God. And I took that as the searching that I was having in my life of like, where is this hole coming from? Because running isn't filling this hole that I thought it would fill. It was found in that one run where it was like, oh, I do not know God because I'm not seeking him out, because I'm not actually taking the time to build a relationship with him. And that has kind of kickstarted a whole journey for me of reading the Bible and actually trying to understand who God is, the evidence for Christ, and really try and build that relationship with God. And so I think from there, I've seen a whole world of things change in my life. But that was just like, I thought that would come at like the Arrowhead race I did in January, where I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going through the worst experience of my life. I'm calling out like, God, where are you? I didn't experience him out there. I experienced him in this little moment on a run that I've done hundreds of times before. And for whatever reason, that's where it happened for me. So I don't know if that entirely answers.
No, I love it. I think, everyone has their story of how they experience spirituality, right? And I think it is hard to put it in words, but I think when you do start to seek, you find, and yes, it might be in an unexpected place.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Shout out Vince.
Shout out Vince.
Freaking love Vince. What, do you have a Lion King shirt on when we met him? Something like that?
Oh, I don't remember. I think, you're saying fresh steeps, which is great. And that faith, all of these things outside of running that speak to, what are you doing when you're not running? What are you after? And along with that, how are you rejuvenating and recuperating and resting in between these runs? Like, are you running every day? Are you taking a break? Like, how are you keeping your body strong as you're taking on these crazy challenges? We're coming at you with important information, warnings, and a solution. Sharing health and wellness gold with you is what we do. And so when we learned alarming information about devices that we routinely use, and we know you do too, we have to share it with you.
What most people don't realize is that the electronic devices we're using, cell phones, Wi-Fi, laptops, and Bluetooth, emit electromagnetic fields, or EMFs. The devices we're holding by our brains, on our skin, by our reproductive parts are emitting EMFs, and prolonged exposure to EMF radiation has been associated with potential health concerns, including neurological effects, impacts on reproductive health, and sleep disturbances.
Those studies alone are a cause for pause. But also, the International Agency for Research on Cancer that operates under the World Health Organization has classified non-ionizing EMFs produced by electronic products like cell phones, smart devices, and tablets a possible human carcinogen. Yikes.
And our solution? Safe Sleeve. Safe Sleeve anti-radiation products are designed to give you peace of mind of knowing you and your devices are protected while making your devices even easier to use. All of their anti-radiation products incorporate their lab-tested shielding technology that can block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation. And that's important because the vast majority of products that claim to block EMF radiation either don't have any testing at all, or they only block a small portion of the harmful frequencies.
We absolutely love the sleek look of these stylish products. They come in a variety of styles and colors. For our phone cases, I picked black, Andrea picked tan, and they include a built-in wallet with RFID protection and a magnetically detachable inner case. They're also anti-radiation products for tablets, iPad, and laptops.
We are pumped because we have been looking for a brand to help protect ourselves and our loved ones from this radiation for months. My kiddos have the iPad cases. Searching for a brand with stylish phone cases, colorful iPad colors, and functional headphones for our workouts, so that we can enjoy our devices, but also not have to worry about how they're harming us.
And without a doubt, it's time to protect ourselves. Grab your Safe Sleeve phone case today and any of their other groundbreaking products at safesleevecases.com and use our code GOLDIVY for 15% off. Keeping the flu and common cold out of your household is important whether you're 5, 35, or 95, and we're going to tell you the easiest and most delicious way to do just that. It's with All Things Elderberry, a woman-owned business that has all-natural, vegan-friendly, and gluten-free elderberry products.
And when we say products, we mean a variety of delicious and beautiful products, not just for you, but for your entire household to get an immunity boost. If we had to pick our favorite product, I'm going with organic elderberry gummies. My kids are obsessed. We're trying to avoid sickness from school and make sure they can participate in their sports. So they take one every morning before they brush their teeth. They think the gummies taste like a mix of grape and cotton candy. I tried them too, and I can see why they ask for them every day. I love that they're boosting their immune system at the start of their day.
My favorite All Things Elderberry product is the elderberry green tea paired with the elderberry honey. The green tea gives me a midday boost, and the honey gives the tea extra sweetness. I also put the honey in my morning coffee instead of creamer. So good. All Things Elderberry is my solution for staying healthy before traveling, avoiding frequent colds and sinus infections, really just maintaining my health all year round.
What sets this brand apart from the others is there are no artificial additives in All Things Elderberry. Their elixir is made with organic, Missouri-grown elderberries, raw honey, and whole spices.
Elderberries not only help with immune support, but may also slow the aging process with their powerful antioxidants, improve skin health, and can shorten the duration of severity of colds and flu.
Visit allthingselderberry.com to explore their full range of immune-supporting products. Stay healthy and feel your best naturally. Use our code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order. That's code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order.
Yeah, I run every day. That's just something that I do. It can be as simple, at least as simple for me, as like going out for a 1 mile jog. Like it doesn't have to be run 10 miles every day. I'm David Goggins. Um, as far as recovery goes, I think that like lifting weights, although that's not like recovery, building strength helps you not need as much recovery because your body is strong, it can hold up. I go to Embrace North, the sauna cold tub facility. Um, I don't do like any stretching or anything, but I think um, yeah, lifting, sauna, cold tubs, and having a consistent run practice. I was up at a bachelor party this weekend, and a guy that I've run with in the past, he hasn't done it in a while, and he's like, I went for, a 5 mile run the other day, and my body was just jacked up. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do these things. Like, I just haven't stopped. Like, I played college sports, not running, but I just haven't stopped lifting weights or moving my body since then. That was in 2019. And I think keeping that consistent practice, my body's like, this is just normal. This is what we do. This is who we are. And so I think if anybody's struggling with, recovery or feeling sore, give it time. Don't overload yourself, but give it time and keep that consistent practice. And over time, you will feel better after runs. Like you just will.
That's what's tricky is people, when they jump in, they want to go hard. They're like, I'm going to do this. And it's like, okay, but you haven't done this in years. So like, can we, like, it's like my husband, he'll like race someone in like a 20-yard dash and then like tear his Achilles. Like he just like thinks because he just has the will and the competitive edge.
Yes.
It's like, no, your body actually needs you to keep moving in order to like not break something.
Yes.
And people get so sore from lifting, or they try and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sore. It's like, okay, do it less amount of time, less amount of weights, but more often. So your body starts to get used to this, because eventually it does become what you do and who you are. And you feel so good that you don't want to go without it. And that's like, we always try and get people to that point. It's just kind of a fine line of getting them there.
Yeah. And something that I am learning lately is two guys that I respect their opinions and their thoughts on. They've sort of challenged me indirectly of asking the question behind the question. So typically I kind of get short with people when they say like, how should I get into running? And I'm just like, by running, like if you want to be a good runner, then start running today and ta-da, you're a runner. And what they challenge me on is like, ask them why they want to run to begin with.
Yeah.
Maybe they're running because they are inspired by what you do, Mark, and they want that in their own life and they don't know what that is. And they think running might be the way for that, but it might not be. Maybe they have a fitness goal. Maybe they are training for something, but maybe getting a better understanding of why they're doing it in the first place might lead you to helping them stay consistent with something that's going to benefit them in the long term, and that they will actually stay consistent with because they have that deeper connection to it. So that's something I'm learning too. It's just like, why do people want to start a fitness journey? That's a good question to know before, and I think some people don't know the answer to that. If they're asked, they might have to think about that. And that's really good. That's good that people will go deeper to ask themselves why, because they can build that deeper connection that will ultimately propel them forward.
Totally. I want to talk about the calendar, the 365 days. Like following through with something 365 days in a row.
That's commitment.
That is commitment. Like that is, like if you did it twice a week for the whole year, that would be commitment, right? And not having a hiccup. So first of all, just thinking more like business standpoint, like one, what was your why behind wanting to really execute that, follow through, and like actually getting that complete? Like what was your mindset on committing to that lofty of a goal?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the time, so in 2022, we had done the Love Like Glory 500-mile run. And the year before, we did a 266-mile run across Minnesota. And the year before that, it was a 160-mile run from Duluth back to Minnesota. So you're seeing this progression of like bigger, longer distances, more days, bigger, longer. And that 2023 year, we kind of talked about how, well, if we're going to do it again, we want to do it bigger, we want to do it better, we want to do more miles, but we can't take off work for a 3 week run, something like that. So my mindset had kind of shifted into how do I do a challenge that I think is big and grand, that will push me, that I'm afraid of, that I can also incorporate into my day-to-day life working a 9 to 5 job. And that had come to my mind because really the first challenge that I'd ever did was back in April of 2020, and it was a calendar club challenge. And it was just for the month, pretty common thing. And my friend Joe Dixon from college, he reached out to me after I completed it, and he said, congratulations, but you're kind of soft because you did it on a 30-day month, not a 31-day month. And anybody who knows me knows that if you tell me that I'm soft because of something as silly as that, I will go to the extreme to just prove you otherwise. So that was kind of always sitting in the back of my mind, that challenge of like how to do it bigger, how to do it better. And I think going into the May of 2023 when I started, it was like, okay, I can do this while working a full-time job. All that I've seen online, nobody's ever attempted this, so it's kind of unique in that nature. And I think doing something consistently every single day will be a huge benefit for me, not just like running wise, but really taking control over doing the action over feeling like doing the action. What would it feel like of just doing it every day, no matter how I feel, no matter what wedding or baptism or birthday or family celebration or anything that
Yeah,
comes
did you
up.
travel that year?
Yeah, so I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. Family's still there. Went home for Thanksgiving, went home for Christmas, went home for a baptism in early February. So there was travel going on. And definitely if there was like a choice in trips, it was front loaded at the first weekend of the month.
But you're running 25 miles on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Like when
Yes.
are you getting that in? And it's cold as hell.
Waking up early in the morning before the family has the day. Because that was the other thing. Like after a few months of doing the runs, I knew what to expect. Like I knew what running a full, marathon a week for the last 7 days or whatever felt like. So it became less about the physical challenge of it and more about like a perfect example is end of August, my friend was getting married. It was a 25-mile day. Woke up early in the morning, got some miles in. And then by noon, I was there, part of his groom's party. And, he got married and had dinner and it was like 8:30 p.m. I was like, dude, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go do this thing. And this is why I love my friends because he gave me a hug. He's like, as much as I'd want you to stay and dance through the night, like I support what you're doing. I love what you're doing. And I just like go keep doing this thing. It's awesome to see. And so had to finish the miles in it. So it's just like stuff like that where it's like my life, I didn't want to put my life on hold. But I also wanted to find a way to incorporate this as a part of my day-to-day life.
Crazy. And I want to talk about your day-to-day life because what do you do for work?
So I work part-time for a number of different jobs. Are you familiar with the cold brew coffee company, Busy Coffee?
Oh,
Yes.
for sure.
So
Didn't
I
Timmy
work-
win the bus from them?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did. He did. So I worked there. That was my first job out of college. And then I left there in February of 2024. And then I just started working again with them again, doing part-time work, helping launch this product. And so I do about 20 hours a week with them there, depending on the week. I umpire youth baseball. So I pick up a lot of games there. I do event setup and teardown at the convention center. I help Embrace North and Yoakum Strength with clients. So getting new members in, doing run clubs, or Yoakum Strength is the strength coach that I go to, who I played football with him at St. Thomas. So try and get people in the door there. And yeah, so it's just like, and I make 20 cents a video on YouTube right now. So
So is the goal that you keep sharing the mission, the vision, what you're doing, and then you can have like the following to support your goals? Or do you have some type of like business idea that goes along with your fitness goals?
yeah, I mean, that would be the goal. I will say so like putting together projects, like ultimate goal is, so like during the Calendar Club Challenge, I had a number of people comment over that full year saying, "Oh, I thought when you said full year of the Calendar Club, you meant you were going to run 300 miles on day 300."
Okay.
You know, and I got enough of those comments where I thought to myself, "Okay, let's take a beat here. 365, obviously impossible, right? 200, obviously impossible, But what is that line? If you start at 1 and you get to 365, where does the human break?
Oh
Is it
God.
100? Is it 110? What is that line? I would love to find that line.
Mark.
But but you think about like, wow, that's a lot of miles from 50 to potentially 110. I would, in order to do that, I would need my fiance. I would need a support crew. I would love to tell a story around that in some sort of documentary. And in order to do that, I need financial support from a sponsor to get involved. And so doing projects like that is an ultimate goal, because I think that like the story of being able to tell people that no matter if you think a goal, no matter if you like, this goal is impossible to reach, but are you willing to go step into the unknown to find out where you can end up along the way? And I think that is a very good message that mirrors life. It's like, we know this life is going to end, where no one gets out of this life alive. But are you willing to step into the unknown and do things in your life that you're afraid of, that excite you, that you can inspire other people to do as well? So that's like the ultimate goal. I have a project coming up this next month, a beer mile project, because that's another fun activity that I do. And I drink NA beer because I'm not into promoting overconsumption of alcohol. But I was able to get Summit Brewing to sponsor that specific project.
Nice.
So all of that is working. But it just, takes time,
Yep.
in order to build over a long period of time, where I can be like, okay, I'm taking 2 months off to do this project.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is so many miles. My legs hurt just thinking about it. But I'm also inspired, right? I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, that's crazy, but also, what am I capable of?
And I would watch that even if I'm not a runner. Like,
Yeah.
what? Yes. Well, so we need people to be able to follow you and find you and know, you're going to end up on a Netflix documentary coming soon. I feel like maybe 2027 it'll be out, because who knows what you're going to do in 2025 and 2026, and it'll be documented, right? So where can they find you, follow you, to watch this journey, get inspired by you?
Yeah, they can find me on YouTube or Instagram at mark.dowdle. And then I believe TikTok is mark.dowdleruns. And then other than that, you can find me anywhere else. I don't know. That's the good places to start.
Find you running around lakes around Minnesota.
Yeah, just make sure you have your Bible.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, if there's one message, if I could leave with the listeners, that would be great. I think so. Right now, I'm reading this book as I prepare to get married in October, called The Meaning of Marriage by Timothy Keller. And it talks about how there's this love with parents that obviously starts with like the love that you have for your child is undeniable. But your love strengthens because you have this repetition of doing things for them, even at times you don't feel like doing it. You know, waking up in the middle of the night to feed a crying baby, like it may not feel good to do in that moment, but you do that for years and years and years and years. And what that does is it strengthens the love that you have for your kids and strengthens the relationship you have with them. That quite literally nothing could take away that love. And I read that not having kids, and I'm kind of getting chills talking about this, but not having kids, and thought about, well, that's going to be awesome to have one day. But two, I feel like that is the type of relationship I have with running in a smaller degree, where the times I feel like running is like 20% of the time, but I still run 100% of the time. And what that has created is it strengthens this relationship I have with running where it's undeniable. Like nothing, no situation that I can think of that I've experienced in the last 2 years is going to take that away from me. And I'm going to continue to do it regardless of how I feel. And I think what's helpful for them to understand is you don't always have to feel like doing something, but if you choose to do it anyway, you will build a connection with something or someone that will last you a lifetime. And that is something that I hope everyone listening to this podcast experiences.
That's beautiful. Oh, I love it. Mark, you're so deep. Runner with some depth. I love it. You're like my pinnacle guest who can talk about running all day. And I love that you shared where people can find you. And we'll make sure that we plug that in our show notes. But we always end our show with a few segments.
Okay.
You've already shared so many things, but we always end with 3 gold stars. So just 3 takeaways for guests. Doesn't have to be around running, could be around whatever you want that you would like to share.
Build a relationship with the creator, whatever that means for you. Life is long and it can be lonely and there is a void. And I think having a connection to a higher power is super important. And that for me is God. But whatever that is for you, seek that out. The second thing would be have somebody in your life that is willing to sit in the mud with you. And don't expect them to do it perfectly. My fiance, Lucy, is that person for me. And I believe that I can say that I'm that for her. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be getting married. But without her, I wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm doing. And when it gets really hard, I don't demand that she does it perfectly. I just know she's going to be there with me. So finding someone in your life, whether it is a partner or a friend or a family member that is willing to just sit in the mud with you. Mm-hmm. The last thing I would say is life is short. And if you're waiting for life to present you with the opportunity to do something you've always wanted to do, that opportunity is never going to come. You have to make it happen. And so I would say, if you're listening to this right now, then you should get up and go do that thing right now.
Amen.
Love those.
Don't think, just do. That's what I always say. And that's what I'm hearing you say with,
Yes.
You don't feel like it, just do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Okay, next segment is Unleashing Ivy. So just 3 more questions we're curious about that we didn't get to touch on. I want to know, someone hasn't found their thing yet. So going back to post-college, you hadn't really developed this love for running quite yet, but there was something in you, this spark. What advice would you give to people who haven't found their thing yet to pour into, to build the connection with?
Do something you might think you enjoy. So I played football at St. Thomas. I thought that I wanted to be a college football coach. And so I coached for my first year out of college as the cornerback defensive back coach at St. Thomas for a year. During that year, I learned that I actually don't like football. I liked playing football. And there's a difference. And every time, you won't find me watching most sporting events on TV. But in the few times that I do, there's this part of me that will watch a college football game and be like, whoa, that looks so fun. That would be so fun to coach. But in the back of my mind, I have that experience that I lean on of like, no, I know what I know what every day looks like. That's not game day. Yes, it looks fun to coach in front of 80,000 fans or 10,000 fans, but I know the amount of work that goes into getting to that moment, and it's not the type of work I like to do. So if you don't know what you want to do, find something you think you might want to do and do it. And if it's not for you, you just eliminated something that you know is not for you. And that's equally as important as knowing the things that you want to do.
It's so powerful. It's like not thinking about it. Just get out and go. And like you said, don't
Try.
think, just, try things. And if anything, you just get to know yourself better and experience life, you know? And it's a good story of like, man, I thought I'd like that. It was bullshit. I didn't like it at all.
Well, what you just said is probably the most powerful thing is like, you get to learn about yourself. What's more adventurous than that?
Yeah, and it's like not selfish to get to know yourself because you get to show up better. You get to show up stronger, more like full of light and energy for the people that you love and experience life more fully. Okay, I want to hear a running story. I want to hear, you have ran so much, Mark. Like the stories you must have up here of like crazy stuff that's happened with your body or shitting your pants or like a person that you ran with or something funny. Can you give us a story of something that's like wild or like maybe you haven't shared before that is just an entertaining little running story?
This is the first thing that pops in my mind, so let's just go with it. Last time I ran from Chicago to Windsor, Ontario for the Beer Mile World Classic. And as I was taking the ferry into Canada, there was a lovely couple in their 70s that were tandem biking from California all the way to Boston. And they were doing it because she was in remission from cancer. And so we just got along great. I was carrying a stroller and they were on a bike and we just got along great. And we end up meeting at the brewery in town. The only other person in town is the radio host for the radio station in town. And he's like, we start chatting him up. We end up doing kind of like a drunk radio show right after that bar. And I end up sleeping in the radio host's backyard in a tent. And all these, things coming together. So it was just like a fun experience that I'm still in touch with all three of those people today. Aww. And it was, I don't know, to me, I love thinking about that moment because there's so many moments like that along the way where you meet someone and just a random occurrence. And then you just like, you're getting, happy holiday or Merry Christmas or Happy New Year type of text from them. So it's really special. That would be the first thing that came to mind.
I love that too. Cause when I think about when people share stories on here or like lessons, like life is about relationships. It is just so much about relationships, right? Like, what you're talking about, like you're so happy to get this text from this random person that you met on a ferry when you're running. You know what I mean? Like it's all about taking care of people and showing up for people. Every time you're running, you're thinking of, your fiance or like this cause you keep talking about, Love Like Lori. It's like there's someone you're thinking about, you're caring for, it's relationships are so powerful even in the midst of like a physical endurance race.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think meeting those people when you're doing the thing that you love the most means something more. Like I felt like, oh, I was meant to meet these people right here at this time because we both, like, this is where my brain gets really wild is like, I think about like all the decisions that they had to make and that I had to make in order to be in that moment for that to happen.
Yes.
And like, that's the beauty of life is like when you step into who you are supposed to be or who you want to be, or just even going toward this idea, like you guys had talked about, like this idea of who you are or who you want to be, life will open up for you.
Totally. Oh, I love it. Okay, last question, Mark. If you could go back and tell younger Mark one thing, what age would you choose and what would you tell him?
I would go back to 16-year-old Mark, high school Mark, and tell him that people's opinions of him mean far less the good and the bad mean far less than you could ever imagine. And the sooner you learn that, and the sooner you take action on the things that you want to do, the better your life's going to get.
That's great advice. And most of the time it comes with time. It's like, I feel like the closer you get to 40, the more you're like, I really don't care at all. It takes some time to get there. Oh, wow, Mark. Well, you are so full of wisdom, insight. I mean, we knew it, like just from following you. It's not just about running. It's beyond running. But it's beautiful to see what you're capable of. And you're inspiring so many people. And to know you now, we can't wait to watch this unfold, and we hope you just keep continuing to take care of yourself, and know that we're cheering you on. And we're just so grateful that you spent your time here. You could be out running right now and you're with us. And so thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our mission to help inspiring people.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and best of luck with your marathon journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, we leave our listeners with a piece of gold. It's how we send off our show. So a quote, something you want to share, could be your own quote or something you live by. Would you please send us off with yours?
Yes. Just keep going.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us. Additionally, we want to remind you that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.